Hello everybody, today we're going to be making tepache. Tepache is an indigenous Mexican fermented beverage that is made with pineapple peels and rinds and sweetened with piloncillo. This is piloncillo and this is just evaporated cane sugar made into these cubes. We also add cinnamon and we add a little bit of clove. So we're going to cut the pineapple and we're going to use pretty much everything except from the little top part. So we're going to go ahead and cut that guy. You want the pineapple to be not super ripe, kind of just in the middle where you can get all the sweetness from it. You want to cut the rinds off, but keep about 1 inch to 2 inches of the actual pineapple on the peel. Alright, and the rest of the pineapple, you can either have it fresh, or if you're going to make a big batch like we're making today, then we can go ahead and cut that into chunks. They do not have to be symmetrical. Aesthetics don't really matter in this beverage. So a little bit about the beverage. Although tepache is fermented for several days, and you can ferment it from 3 to 5 days, it doesn't really contain much alcohol. Tepache is usually served cold, and you'll find it in most juice bars in Mexico, in central Mexico, as well as homemade. You can cut the rinds in half too if they're a little larger than you'd like them to be. I usually cut some and then I'll leave the other ones a little bit longer. So this drink has been around for many, many years. The Nahuatl people of pre-Columbian central Mexico who spoke Nahuatl called it tepache, which means made from corn, actually, because tepache was originally made with maize. However, post-conquest, like around 1690, the Nahuatl people began to use pineapples. They also began to use coconuts or apples as well. All right, so we're gonna get a container. In this case, I have this big guy. And we're gonna start adding our pineapple chunks in. Prior to doing this, I washed the pineapple thoroughly, made sure that everything was clean. You wanna avoid any bad microbes going in there. All right, and see, it doesn't have to be perfect. I kind of put them standing up so that you can get all the flavor inside. All right, so what is going to be happening is that tepache contains cultivable lactic acid bacteria, also known as lab. It's capable of producing bacteriocins. Tepache and M. tuba, in that case, contain mesophilic aerobic bacteria, lab, and yeast. Tepache contains bacteria that harbor genes coding for lysine and enterocene, but not pideocene. All right, what's next is that we're going to go ahead and just throw the piloncillo in there whole, and you can use as much as you'd like sugar-wise. I try to use we're using about 7 of these cubes because I'm making a big batch. Obviously, the sugar is what's going to help with the ethanol, as I will tell you about right now. So we're gonna put that in. All right, so the tepache's fermentation process is alcohol fermentation through the sugars in the cane sugar from the piloncillo, as well as the pineapple, which produces ethanol. In the first reaction, the enzyme pyruvate decarboxylase removes the carboxyl group from the pyruvate, releasing the CO2 gas while producing the 2-carbon molecule acetaldehyde. The second reaction, catalyzed by the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase, transfers the electrons from NADH to acetaldehyde, producing the ethanol and the NAD+. So the fermentation process is just like pretty much any other alcohol fermentation. We are also going to add cloves. So the reason we're adding a couple of these things, like a cinnamon stick, is that the essential oils in the cinnamon stick are also antimicrobial. So in this case, we'd use it against Candida yeast, but we'll still get a solid microbe formation, but we want the right microbes. So All right, after that is done, we're just gonna add the water. And we're gonna go ahead and fill it up. In this guy, it's about 12 cups. Again, you can make a much smaller batch than this. All right. You want to cover it with a cheesecloth so that it's still breathable, or some plastic wrap, it'll still breathe through as well. We're going to use cheesecloth in this case. I'm going to gather a little bit more water. All right. So I go ahead and cover it with some cheesecloth over here just so that nothing else gets in, but it's breathable. All right, and then you just go ahead and store this in a nice cool place around your home. You can check it in about 3 days and see how the texture is and the fermentation process is coming along, or you can wait until 5 days. So I made this batch to show you guys, and I also have some that's already made. So this is kind of the color that you're aiming for at the end. With your results, the fermentation is nice, it's crispy, it obviously tastes fermented, but it really does have very, very low levels of alcohol. I think I was successful making this today. I mean, it's part of my culture and it's part of who we are. It's something that we've been drinking for centuries and centuries. I think the only thing I would change if I did this again was maybe do it in smaller batches, just because when you get a big batch, you really do have to be trying it a little bit more often, and you got to get the water ratio perfect. But there it is. That is Tepache.